my gosh, I cannot think of the name of them. But anyway, I used to wear them all the time. Walking through school, baby, I'm talking about you be walking in and my ankle would just be like. Hey players, welcome back to the Slaying Self Doubt YouTube channel. Here is where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to walk into their God given purpose. How do we do that, you ask? Well, we create safe and brave spaces just like this for Black women to show up authentically as themselves. So join me and sometimes some of my friends or our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I am Coach Felicia, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Hey Slayers, welcome back to another episode of Slaying Self Doubt Podcast. It's your girl, Coach Felicia. I was having a thought as I was saying that. That's why it sounded so weird. But hey y'all, hey, we're back for another week and I am live in your ears. Hey, 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 I'm so proud of myself. I just wanted to say this off the break. Because this week has been a week and I very well could have skipped this week, but I ended up putting it in my calendar and saying everything else goes in your calendar. This is important. You said you were going back, you was gonna be changed, girl. So you came back and we're gonna do the thing. For those of you who are watching, yes, sis went and cut her hair. Because I had to. It was just becoming too much. I think no, let me take that back. There's a style that I wanted. And as I was growing out my head because of the alopecia areata, I was like, oh, you know what? I would love to get like a little pixie cut or whatever have you. But I felt like I needed more hair than I actually had. And so I was like, I'm just gonna keep growing it, keep growing it. Well, a part of keep growing it was bleaching it. And so I was bleaching every month like I normally do, right? The difference is that bleaching my hair when it's like this is all new growth, right? And so even the little blonde hairs that you see, that's blonde, not gray. Don't play lotto, not me. Okay. Even these little blonde hairs that are right here, like when they get bleached again, you're bleaching over bleach, right? So imagine the ends of my hair before. Like it started to like get so thin, like it was breaking off. I know it was because I was like, hair was just like, oh, if I wore something like this black, I'd have hair all over me. Like I had like I was shedding or something. And I was just like, you know what? This ain't gonna work. That was part one. Then part two was every single time I worked out, like I had to redo my head. That is not the reason why I cut my hair, was to do my hair every day. I did not want to do that. So I went back to my barber. He's like, "Oh, you back again?" I was like, "I am, and I'm definitely not cutting it again." He was like, "Yeah, I mean, growing it out again." He was like, "Yeah, okay." So we'll see. But for now, she's back. Okay. Um, I'm sorry, I forgot to do the welcome. Hey, y'all. Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to all the new Slayers. Joining our movement, no matter how you found us, whether it was by way of a solo episode, guest episode, you found me on LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, wherever you found me out. I'm so glad that you are here. And while you're listening to this episode, please share with at least 10 people. We're trying to reach 100,000 downloads this year. Also, subscribe to our YouTube page. I'm trying to grow that as well. So, we out here trying to do all the things. Slayer Nation news. Y'all know, gotta give it to you before we get into this episode. The Slaying One Day workshop is coming up, the very first one. I was debating, right? Like I keep hearing people call different things, and I think some of it is like honestly, this is a random rant. But I always be like, what's the difference between a workshop, a masterclass, and like obviously I know what a course is, but like a 1 day something, right? Like I just am like, why we got all these names for like the same thing? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't get it. Uh, but I was like, I don't know. You know, a lot of people have seen like, oh, it's a masterclass, it's a webinar, it's a workshop, it's a girl, just come show up. Okay. And I just, y'all, it be some stuff that my brain just don't be, it do not be computing. Okay. But anyway, the Slaying One Day workshops are starting this month. They'll be every third Wednesday of each month at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Grab your tickets. It's only $25. You guys, like this would be an investment for yourself. I'm sharing my tips on how to slay your self-doubt. And you can honestly use this in every situation of your life. And so I don't want you to miss out on it. So go do that. Okay. Using the power of your voice e-guide. I want you to go ahead and download that. that is your way to get started on your podcast. And I shared last week that I know a few people who downloaded it, did it, and they had a podcast in 30 days. I've actually listened to their second episode this week. So I know for a fact that it works. And like, if you know that you're sitting on something that God has told you to do, specifically a podcast, go listen to it. I mean, go download it and get it so that you can get started. Um, it's already hoodie season, y'all. I just want you to know, we just out here trusting God. Go ahead and grab a hoodie, and you can get a t-shirt to wear up underneath it. But for real, you need these hoodies. I'm going to order some of the other colors because I always wear the black and the gray ones, but we have like military green and red. So, with the winter and the fall coming up, fall and winter, I'm over here sounding like she by Sheree. Child. I gotta change the colors up a little bit. Join the Slayer Society, the Facebook group. Ciao, y'all. Listen. And then last but not least, I'm always going to push coaching, right? You guys, if you are ready to invest in yourself and invest in slaying your self-doubt, finding your fears and slaying them, discovering the thing that's holding you back, I am your girl. I am Miss Slaying Self-Doubt herself. So I can help you on that. So my brain fog, right? Some of it has to do probably with age. But also, child, we is in the second week of school and I've already had a kid that's been sick. So y'all do know that like I was talking to my sister about it. She was like, yeah, I have the same thing, but I had like sympathy pains all week long. So like he had a stomach ache like the first couple of days, and then like my stomach was hurting. Then it went from like a head cold. Then I was like, I think I'm sick too. So my throat was like the whole time, right? Nevertheless, right? I mean, never mind the fact that I've had asthma and allergies my entire life, right? I'm like 40 plus years into this. Girl, you do know that this is the season, the time of year that you always get sick. The change of the seasons from summer to fall and then from winter to spring. Hands down, every year, no matter what the weather, like I don't care what the temperature is, I'm going to get sick whenever the seasons change. Have no idea what the reason is, but I'd have to take it up with the Lord, and I'm just not going to do that. So it just is what it is. So it's so funny because, of course, right now, everybody's talking about the, Rona and how we got a whole nother strain and this, then the third, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, immediately, I say, ever since that happened, right? We have literally been in this space. It's like, is it this? Is it that? I'm like, it's just a code. Like, we can't just have codes no more. Like, I mean, although I think it's important that if you have it, stay away, right? Take care of yourself, rest, do all the things that you need to do. I think that it's still very serious. At the same time, like we've had all of these other ailments prior to. I was just like, Lord, please don't give me last year, because when I tell you my kids was sick from like October to February, maybe even March. Like when I promise you, they was passing stuff back to back in this joint. Every virus we have ever had in creation ran through this house. Like at some one point in time, I was like, it's no need. Like I just had homeschooled them at this point because I'm doing all the stuff. But I also know I wasn't the only person. A lot of families were going through that. So I'm just praying for each and every one of us that we just have a healthy school year. So that's a part of what's going on with me. I started this fitness program last week. I told you all that I was getting ready on my health journey and trying to get myself together, and I won this membership at a fitness gym in my area. And baby, I went the first day and was like, the girl was like, how was it? I was like, would I be wrong if I said I regret winning this giveaway? Because that's how I felt. I was like, my body is going to thank me for it, when it's all said and done. But I was like, day one, no, this was torture, right? But it taught me two things. A, they're like, I can do hard things, right? Like there was some stuff that I was intimidated about. Now, a little bit of backstory. I have had several surgeries on various parts of my body. One, I had an elbow injury in like the ninth grade. So I have a screw in the plate in my elbow, broke my ankle in like 2011, I think. So same thing. screws in my ankle. So there's a lot of things that have happened. I got my knees be acting up sometimes, back be ain't been right since I had an epidural. Like so many different things that I've like when I exercise myself, I limit myself, right? Because I'd be like, oh, child, we ain't trying to re-injure this ankle. Like, baby, let anything happen to this ankle, and I'd be like, I'm sitting down because it was such a long process. But I also believe that I like don't trust my ankle, right? Like, cause I'm just, and mind you, I know how long ago it was. It's just still something that for me was like such a traumatic thing, like the experience of having the surgery, having the, it just was too much. I just don't want to go through that again. So I'm, playing it safe. So when I went in, she asked, any ailments, any this, and the third. Oh, also because I have asthma. And so I told her, the things. And so I'm looking at all these other women doing all this stuff, and I'm just like, you want me to jump up where? With what? Not with these knees and this ankle. Like, I'm not getting off the ground. That's not happening. They had a little sled thing in that joint. I'm like, you want me to push that? How much weight is on this? Like, I was like so full of self doubt, but I made it through. There was some modifications that I had to make for my safety, right? So, like, knowing that I do not trust my ankle, you ain't about to see me jump nowhere, okay? Because if before I had the ankle injury, I had like rolling ankle syndrome. I don't know if any of y'all remember. Oh my gosh, I cannot remember the name of the shoes. I'm gonna post a picture about them as soon as I remember. But they back in the 90s, they used to be these platform shoes. They had like this plastic kind of wooden base. Like they was, oh my gosh, I cannot think of the name of them. But anyway, I used to wear them all the time. Walking through school, baby, I'm talking about you be walking in then my ankle would just be like, mm. And so over and over, like I've always had like this rolling ankle syndrome or whatever. So even before the break, I've always had like something going on. So I just wanted to play it safe for myself. But I was glad that I got through it. I was supposed to go to some more class, but because my son was sick, I was like, let me play it safe because I didn't know what was going on with him. And so I was just like, I'm not about to put myself around other people. And, I just wasn't doing that. So I go back next week. And I'm excited about it. Like I want to do it. And so I'm excited about taking this journey. So you guys are going to see the transformation. Just pray that I stick to it, and pray that I just continue to trust the body that God gave me with, and that I am. Oh, because I was saying the other part is that like knowing that I could do hard things, and just pushing myself in my limitations. That was the real big thing. The second thing was like the whole self doubt I was going through. So those are the two things that I experienced. So I want to talk about something. It's so generally, like I've shared to y'all before that when I come into doing these podcasts, sometimes I know what I want to talk about. And I mentioned it last week that we were going to talk about something. But sometimes the Lord just be like, no, not today. So anyway, I came down here. It was like, all right, I'm get started, write my notes up about this topic that we're going to talk about being prepared. What the thing was. And so prior to that, I wanted to share something that I seen on Housewives, right? And in the middle of that, the Holy Spirit was like, asked me a question, and I was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I am, but what does that mean? So that took me, and I was like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. We're changing the topic, okay? So I'm going to tell you this story, and then we're going to get into the episode. So excited. Real Housewives of Salt Lake City is back. That's one of my, I love the Housewives franchise. Atlanta was trash these last couple of years, y'all. Side note, I watched the Nene and Carlos King episode interview on YouTube. You should go watch it. I miss Nene. Like, although I like there was a lot of stuff that she was saying that I was like, I know people gonna say that she a hater or whatever have you, but some of the stuff she was saying was facts. Like, there's a certain dynamic between, and I need to go back and watch it. I'm going to go back and watch season 5 and season 6 because they were saying those are like the best seasons of the Atlanta Housewives. But the dynamic has changed, and you could just see like I don't even know some of these people. I don't even know why they on here. Like they boring. Like, and don't get me wrong, I love me some Candy Birds, right? But Candy needs somebody, and Nene said it. Candy needs somebody who's gonna put a battery in her back and get her like she's boring, right? Like she about her bread, she about her money, she about doing what she needs to do. And this season felt like this was something else that was on her list. And as a viewer, I was just like, well, girl, if you want to go tour, go get your EGOTs. I'm all for you. I'm celebrating with you. Like I want you to do all those things as well. But find somebody else to do this job because you taking up space over here, right? So anyway, that's my first fave. Okay. Second would be Potomac. Okay. And then third would be Salt Lake City. And so they got some new people because last year Jen Shaw went to jail. If you're not on it, y'all need to get into it. It's very messy, very like, what the crap? But it's really, really good. So they have a new person on the show now. And last week was the 2 weeks ago was the first episode. So this past week was the second. Yes. Last week was the first episode. This week was the second episode. So there's a new girl on there. Her name is Monica. And the first episode, I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna like her. Like I wasn't really sure like what she was giving, whatever. So anyway, fast forward to the second episode. She's having a conversation with her mom at the table. She's going through a divorce, single mom, 4 kids, and she's sharing how she's about to go on this trip with the girls. And she like breaks down about how she went to and this is her story. She went to the Louis Vuitton store and she bought a bag because she wanted to feel like she had something, right? And I felt so bad for her. Like, of course, it's all edited, so I'm sure there was a lot that was like taken out because it was literally like 2 seconds. But it was just in that moment that I was like, bruh, how many people feel like that they have to purchase something, be a certain type of way, dress a certain type of way, show up in a certain type of way because the space around them requires that, right? And I was just like, dog, that is like such a terrible feeling. Like I just can't. And she was in tears because she was like, I've never been like that, but I just, and of course, all of these girls, even she was like down, like she definitely was suffering from some self doubt in that moment because she was downplaying like her business and all I do is this and that. And I was just like, yeah, bro, how many of us like this girl is actually showing like her true feelings because she's not one, she ain't no housewife no more. Two, she's living in her truth at this moment, and all these other girls have probably they've all gone through something to get to where they are right now, right? And so yeah, okay, the rest of them got money, they able to do all this other stuff. But I was just like, but in the whole time thinking to myself, well, could she afford the bag? Like because I was kind of wondering like why she told her mom that. Like, is it because you bought it? And I understand why you bought it, but like, could you not afford the bag? Like, what was the thing? But I get it. Like, as a parent, especially as a single mom, like there's some stuff that you just like, it's not a necessity, right? And I'm sure that wasn't a necessity. Like it, but I get what she was saying. Like she was in this space of feeling like she had to measure up to them with things, right? And as I was watching that, I was just like, dang, that sucks because there's lots of regular people that's not on TV feeling the same way. Like I have to show up in this space a certain type of way where I'm not being my authentic self, right? And just this thought came, it ain't a thought. Well, the Holy Spirit just was kind of like, you're creating this safe and brave space through saying self-doubt. Like, what does that mean? So when I'm sitting here like writing the notes for the show, um he basically said like, are you a safe space? And I was kind of like, I mean, yeah, I think so, pretty sure I am. Like I'm looking around like, it's kind of a weird question, but I think you have to be able to ask yourself that, right? Like, and not only for like your friend groups, but for your family, for your kids, for your husband, for your employees, for your coworkers. Like, are you personally a safe space? And so I wanted to talk about what that would look like and what that means and just kind of dig into it a little bit. Okay. So I don't know, guys. I feel like I don't know, maybe it's because I'm working in ministry right now. All these acronyms sometimes when they come up, I'd be like, oh, okay, here we go. So the first part of whether or not the first part of whether or not are you a safe space, I think you have to do the evaluation of where you are, what you're feeling, and if So when we talk about being a safe space, I really want us to know what that means, right? And really think about what that looks like. And also you to be able to use the same identifiers to find out whether or not the space you're in is safe. Because ultimately, like you want to be a safe space for other people, but you need to recognize whether or not the circles you in, the people you around, the people you're sharing stuff with, are they a safe space for you, right? There's lots of times we get into these friend groups, we get into relationships, you got family, whatever, and they're not a safe space. And I think that it is okay for us to say, this isn't a safe space for me. We are, for me, as an adult, as a mom, as a wife, like I want to show my kids what a safe space looks like, so that when they get into other their friend groups and other relationships, they can identify, like, bro, this ain't where I want to be, or this isn't where I want to share any information. Like, y'all, let's not play. We all got people that we be like, they getting this much information, right? Like that's about it. They ain't getting no more than that, because they gonna flip it and reverse it, right? Or they use it to attack you. They use it to pity you. Like, you don't want all of that. Then you have some people that you're able to give a little bit more information to, but sometimes depending on how you're feeling and how you are dealing with whatever it is you want to share, sometimes you don't want to give it to them because of what they're going to give you back, right? And so I wanted to break down, like, what being a safe space actually looks like and what a safe space should look like. So the first part is seeing them, right? People want to feel seen. People want to feel like, and you can make a person feel seen, right? People want to feel like you are right in there with them. They do not want to feel like you are, um, Brene Brown talks about this, kind of sort of, and actually a friend of mine mentioned it to me recently. So I swear the Lord was just leaving the breadcrumbs because he knew I was gonna have to talk about this, right? And it's like about the whale, right? And so the question is like, if somebody is in the whale, how are you going to respond, right? You see somebody in a whale and they're like, help, help, help. Are you going to be the person who walks by, right? Are you going to be the person that be like, oh dang, you fail? Oh man. Uh yeah, like I'm up here. I don't really know how to, that sucks to be in the well, just keep clawing at keep clawing at the brick and try to bring yourself up. Or are you going to be the person that says, hold on one second, I'm coming down to get you? Am I the person that is going to go down in the well with you, not stay, but like help you get out of it, right? Like, it's not the other person, it's not your job to, and we'll learn as we go through this, it's not your job to fix their problem, but sometimes it's your job to be in the well with them. Sometimes it's being there with them as they're figuring out how to climb through. Nothing sucks more than telling somebody your problem and then being like, sucks for you, and you be like, okay, and you walk away feeling even worse about yourself, right? Because now not only you have to deal with your stuff, then you have to deal with the feeling of rejection, that this person that you thought was a trusted friend, that you thought was had your best interest at heart, just basically was like, not my problem, right? Now, with that being said, you have to know whether or not, you have to know who these people are before you are asking them to, hey, see me in the well. But ultimately, people want to be seen. They want to know that you will get down in the well with them. And even if you can't get down there with them because you got your own stuff going on, they want to know that, like, hey, let me give you this real quick and I'm gonna help pull you out. I can't get in there with you, but I'm gonna give you a lifeline or something else. Maybe I'll, refer, maybe I know somebody else, or maybe I will refer you to therapy or coaching or counseling or something like that. Like, they want to know that that you see them, that they are not invisible to you and you're not just going to walk past them. And we want to feel that too. So we're going to use the word safe. Okay. So the S is seeing them. Like people want to be seen. So you want to ask yourself, if I'm being a safe space, am I seeing people? And if I'm seeing them for who they are, right? Or am I putting filters on them? Am I putting filters on myself for people not to be able to see me? That will, if you're doing that, that will create, distortion, and it won't be a safe space because it's not real, right? The A in safe is active listening. You need to be fully present when people are sharing with you. You cannot be scrolling on Instagram, looking through your phone, interrupting them while they're talking or listening to respond. That is a thing. And I'm rolling my eyes because I have a tendency to do that. But active listening is you truly being present and you listening to understand and not to respond, but it's really you taking the time to be like, what is it that they're saying, right? And that's what we want. We want the same thing. We want somebody to not fix our stuff for us, right? Like, I'm not telling you this for you to be like, okay, so what you should do is yada, yada, yada. No, I'm telling you this because a part of being seen and feeling like this is a safe space, sometimes I just need to share. Like, I need to share what is going on. I need to share how I'm feeling without judgment, without advice. That's not what they're asking for. Now, with that being said, depending on the relationship that you have with people, I think that you should ask. You should ask people like, is this a venting? Do you want me just to listen to you vent? Do you want advice? Do you want feedback? Because advice and feedback are two different things. Like, again, though, you have to be mindful enough in your active listening, like, what do you want from me? And I don't think that there's anything wrong with asking that, because sometimes when you are active listening and you don't say anything, people tend to feel like that may be ignoring them as well. Like, are you listening? You know what I'm saying? And you could be, but maybe you process differently or you're not sure what to say. And so my advice in this moment would be, I would encourage you to ask them, like, before we get into this conversation, like, do you want advice? Do you want feedback? Or do you want to just vent? Like, let me know, because then I know how to show up, right? And so that's the A, active listening. F is feelings matter. Your feelings matter in this space just as much as the other person. So you both have to be ready to have a conversation, right? So there are times, I'll use my husband for example, because I kind of use him for example all the time. But there are times where I know, coming into this marriage and into this relationship, like, I knew that my husband doesn't like to have like super emotional conversations. He need time, like he needed advance notice, like, like, I need you to tell me, like, you can't just, whereas like for me, sometimes I could just be like, so, and just go, right? Because now I need to just get it off my chest. He's not like that. But I had to learn that. That came from lots of conversations. And so now I know to be like, if there's something like a heavy conversation that needs to happen, that I need his feedback, especially if I need his feedback and I need him to like, listen, I need to prepare him, right? So that, one, he don't come into the conversation feeling frustrated, because don't nobody want to be caught off guard by you about to tell me something heavy and I ain't ready for it, right? Um, and so when you need to have a crucial conversation, not necessarily difficult, but a crucial conversation, meaning like, I need you to show up, I need you to be active, and I need some interaction. For us, what works best for us is for me to tell him ahead of time, hey, we need to talk later. You let me know what's a good time for you, and I will. And then I don't just be like, okay, he said 4, and be like, all right, it's 4 o'clock. So what I was about to say, I asked, is this a good time? And I'll tell him, like, what I need from this conversation is feedback. I need us to talk it out, whatever it is. Or I just say, I just need to vent. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to say nothing at the end. Just let me cry and rub my back, right? Like, I just have to give very, very specific instructions. And so also, I think that goes with your friend groups as well. Like, sometimes you can't just go into your group chat and dump. Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, that is a hard thing to do. Like, you open something up thinking y'all like, good morning, y'all, have a great day, love y'all, whatever, whatever. And then somebody full page letter of their emotions, and you like, well, dang, you know what I'm saying? Like, even with that, like, I know that because a lot of our communication is via texting, we have to be mindful of that. And I think that at the same time, you have to give people the space to feel the way they want to feel about whatever it is that you have said. And that may mean that I can't respond right now. I don't have anything to say. Like, I love the fact that we have emojis in all group chats, right? Like, you can just heart it, thumbs up it, whatever, and then I can go back. And so I think that we all have to be mindful of not only our feelings but other people's feelings as well, so that we know that we're not putting someone else in an awkward situation. Being a safe space for somebody, you have to do your work. You have to, that's why I say your feelings matter too. You have to do your work where, depending on what somebody say to you, it's not going to trigger you, or it's not going to aggravate you, or make you upset or make you sad, or whatever the case may. Like, your feelings that you have matters, but you got to be mindful of the space that you're in. Um, Personally. So for me, when I was working before and I had as a manager, like, lots of times some of the conversations we had nothing to do with work. A lot of the conversations we had were personal things. Like, some of these girls were around the same age as me or younger. And sometimes it was like life stuff that we would be having conversations around. I'd have to check myself before I could be a safe space for them to walk into my doors, because at the end of the day, in that situation, you're looking to me as your leader. And so I can't be in there like, girl, yeah, me too. And we both in there crying like that. What? Like, that's not going to work. Like, you came to me, right? And so sometimes I have to check my feelings, and I have to be able to say, like, I can't do it right now. Right. So the same way that I said to earlier, was saying, like, I asked my husband was a good time for him, is the same way if somebody is coming to you, like, you have to be open and honest enough to say, hey, right now it's not a good time, but I would love to hear what it is that you have to say. Give me 30 minutes, give me 45 minutes. I'll call you tomorrow, right? I shared this a couple of episodes ago that I had a friend who texted me and was like, hey, can you talk? And I was like, uh, yeah, what's up? And they were like, no, I really need to talk, but I need to know whether or not you have the capacity to be able to hear me out right now. And I was just like, well, technically, no, right? I just was going to let them, and see, this is me following my own advice, right? But it made me think when they said it, I was just like, I appreciate that. Really, right now, I don't have it in me to give you what you like. I knew what that person was going to need from me. And at that moment, I didn't have it in me to give it to them. Like, I would have listened to what they said. And I probably, because of what it is I do and because of who I am, I would have mustered up the energy to be able to give it to them. It might have been a 15, 20-minute delay, but I appreciated the fact that they asked if I even had the capacity to carry whatever it is that they was about to dump on me, because that's what happens in leadership, in coaching, in therapy, in any space where you are creating a safe space, even in entrepreneurship. Like, when you create safe spaces for people, you have to be prepared for people leaving a bricks at your door. Like, that's some real stuff. And so in order for you to be able to make the space safe every single time, you have to deal with your emotions. That's the other reason why I think that, I'm grateful. I just told my therapist this week that I was so grateful that I started therapy when I did. But the Lord knew, right? I started therapy specifically because I was switching jobs and I was transitioning into entrepreneurship, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I was feeling like I was all over the place. And I was just like, I need to talk to somebody, because otherwise I'm gonna drive myself crazy. Who knew that less than 6 months later we was going to be in a whole panorama? And I would have I would not have had the capacity to manage my family, manage the emotions that was going on for myself, had I not had that outlet in that safe space. And so I'm so glad that I had the wherewithal in the beginning to do it, but God knew, right? At the end of the day, He knew what I needed to do. And so it all aligned exactly the way it was supposed to. But you have to make sure that you are okay before you go out here, saying, hey, I want to, mobilize women to do such and such. And I want to be a coach and I want to be this and I want to give to this. I want to, because you got to realize what you're bringing into yourself. And so, for me, like, I know that my feelings matter. And because my feelings matter, like, if I ain't feeling it, it ain't happening. I don't want to talk about it. I'm not going to have it, you know, a conversation about something that I cannot give you the best version of me. And then that's not creating the safe space, right? So F is for feelings matter. Okay. E is for empathy versus sympathy. People do not want your pity. They want your compassion. And there is a difference. Sympathy is, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry that happened to you. Empathy is, I know what you're feeling, right? You don't have to say those words, but it is putting yourself in another person's situation, even if you've never gone through it. You don't have to empathize. You don't have to have had the same experience for you to empathize with somebody. You can just literally put yourself in the place. There are times we have listened to songs, we have watched movies, right? So I know it's possible. We have watched TV shows. There's things with people that say, oh my gosh, I couldn't even watch it because I felt so angry. Why? Why you feel angry? You never been through that experience, but you can empathize with the mother. You can empathize with the wife. You can empathize with the daughter. You can empathize with the girlfriend, right? Like you can put yourself in certain situations. That's what people want for you. They want you to empathize with them. They want you to put yourself in their situation and be like, how would I feel if this happened to me? And you know what that does when you're able to empathize, you make people feel seen. You are actively listening. And then the feelings matter. It all ties together. It really does, right? Like, in order for you to empathize, all of those things have to go together in order for you to be safe. Because if you gonna let me talk blah 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 blah, and then at the end be like, dang, that sucks. I'm sorry that happened to you, but I'm going through something else. Like, that's not the same thing. That's the reason why you got to be tuned into your feelings. Like, if you can't carry somebody else's stuff or care, not necessarily care, because remember, you're not giving people advice, you're not trying to fix it. All you're doing is being there, right? And so being a safe space requires so much out of you in order for you to be that for somebody else. And so I just want to encourage you today, like, two things. Are you a safe space? Do you really think you are a safe space? Like, I want you to think back to what I just said. Do people feel like you see them? Are you actively listening? Do people feel like their feelings matter? And are you actually empathizing with people? Like, those things make a difference, and they make a difference in people's lives. And I am so grateful that I can say without a shadow of a doubt, I create safe spaces, right? I know that that is how God designed me. Even in my toughest moments, even in the darkest of storms, I have always been able to create safe space for other people. I am not boasting about it or making it seem like, oh, it's so great. She said it's hard, but I'm grateful that I do have the capacity to be able to do that. What I'm now doing for myself is creating those boundaries to make sure that as much as I'm being a safe space for somebody else, I need to be a safe space for myself. Do I see me? Am I actively listening to my thoughts and my feelings and my heart? And do my feelings matter? Am I being patient with myself, giving myself grace? If I'm feeling sad, if I am I allowing myself to feel whatever it is that I'm feeling? And am I empathizing with the girl who I was or the woman I want to be? You know what I'm saying? Like, those things matter. So I'm being a safe space for myself now. And that requires a different level of intentionality and so many other things. But I'm here for the journey. And so my encouragement to you again, so the question of the episode rather is, are you a safe space for yourself and others? I would like to know whether or not that is something that you think that you are. So definitely email me at info@slayingselfdoubt.com, or you could comment on this episode when it drops on Sunday. And then my encouragement to you is take a look at your spaces. Take a look at your spaces and decide if that's a safe space. I've said often, I have lots of friend groups, right? Like from middle school to adulthood school, just different pockets. Yeah, lots of people, some people have just like this my core group and that's it. I got a core group, and some people don't, but I have multiple um pockets of people that I talk with, people that I've met like within the last 2 years. And I truly believe that because I create safe spaces, that they in turn are a safe space for me. And so what I put out, I'm getting back. And I'm grateful for that, because in certain areas, in certain conversations, in certain situations, I can share stuff with them and not feel judged and not feel like, oh my God, here she go complaining again about blah, blah, blah. Or here she goes saying yada, yada. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it could go both ways, right? When you're complaining about something, you could be, oh, here she go, whiny McWhiner, right? Or when you're sharing your wins and you like, I did it, da da da. Oh, here she go, boasting about something else. Like, it goes both ways. So y'all have to figure out, like, you need to look at your group and decide, like, are these safe spaces for me? Is this a safe space for me to share my ups and my downs? Or is this a group that only cheers for me when it's loud, but when it's quiet, it's silent? Like, we have to take inventory of that for ourselves, because as we're getting older, okay, and as we are maturing, it's important for us to know these things. So I want you to answer the question of the episode: are yourself safe space for yourself and others? And then I want you to do inventory of I encourage you to do inventory of your groups and the people that you are around, and decide who's safe space. And if you realize that people are not safe for you, I ain't telling you to block them, cut them off, whatever have you, because I don't know the relationship. But what I would say is shut your mouth. Until the Lord tells you otherwise, right? Like, everything ain't meant for everybody. And so you might need to just pull back on what you're talking about if you recognize that this space is not safe for me, right? And then if you are bold and courageous enough, you should tell them you're not a safe space for me because this, that, and the third. Sometimes people don't know that that's the energy that they're giving off. But if a person truly loves you and they truly care about you, they will hear you, they will be actively listening, and they will make the corrections that they need, so they are a safe space for you. Some they may not know. So if they don't know, tell them listen to this episode, and that's how they'll figure out whether or not they're a safe space or not. Okay. Tell them come on over to the Slaying Stuff. That was that. All right. Um, and so then they'll know. So that's all I have for this week, guys. From the beginning, okay. Register for the Slay in 1 day workshop. Y'all remember I said this goes from September to June right now. So you have months. You don't have to do it this month. It every month until June. You got time, okay? As always, y'all, thank y'all for rocking with me. If you enjoyed this podcast and you find it valuable, please consider making a donation by buying me a coffee. Your support of a small donation of $5 to $10 to help me create new content, grow our audience, and purchase new equipment for live recordings. I said it on here a couple of weeks ago. I need the cameras, the lights, the mics, new podcast equipment. I need the thing that makes the sound. I don't even know, the mixing thingy, bobber, whatever you plug the child, all that stuff, like soundboard. I think that's what it's called. All of those things, so that we can continue to grow and expand. This month of September is Suicide Prevention Month, y'all. And y'all know Jesus in therapy all the time. And so if you know somebody who is struggling, we also know that we're coming up on seasonal depression. It's seasonal affective. I think it's SAD is what the definition of it is. And I'm getting ready to look it up because I'm not about to mess it up. It is called seasonal affective disorder. See, I know, which is a type of depression that comes and goes in a seasonal pattern. So a lot of people have it as the time changes and we go into fall and winter and the sun is not up as much. And so y'all know Slant Self Doubt has partnered with BetterHelp. And so if you find yourself in a space where you need to take charge of your mental health, you get 10% off your first month of therapy at betterhelp.com/slang, SLAYING. Please, y'all, take care of yourself. But even when we talk about being in a safe space, remember I said you got to make sure that you are right in order for you to be able to be there for somebody else. So this is you taking care of you first. Make sure you're subscribed to the Slayer Nation newsletter. Please share this episode with at least 10 people. We're trying to hit 100,000 downloads this year. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, wherever, all over the socials at Slaying Self Doubt. Until next week, keep slaying, sis. See ya. As always, y'all, thank you for rocking with me. Again, if you enjoyed this podcast and you find it valuable, you enjoy this channel and you find it valuable, please consider donating by buying me a coffee. Your support will help me to create new content, get an official podcast studio, and ultimately reach more people. That's what we need. We need more people on this movement. Okay. If you're not already signed up to the newsletter, go to my website, www.slayingselfdoubt.com, and sign up for the Slayer Nation newsletter. That's where you'll get updates, where you'll get what's going on. You'll get the news first. You don't have to wait until I announce it or hear. Okay. And lastly, well, second to last, please make sure that you share this with at least 10 people. We are trying to reach 100,000 downloads this year, and every subscription, every share counts. So we need it. We need you to send it out to your peoples so they can help us hit our goal this year. Lastly, if you are not already following me on Instagram, you need to go on over there and follow me at Slaying Self Doubt. Until the next episode, see ya.